Hi there, welcome to the Noah Presgrave case with some very important material that I'm going to be sharing with you today, which most of you have never seen before. Text conversations from Elisha Lee, key details of the case and Kaden Pressey from his point of view and what was said and passed on in 2023 when it was more fresh and closer to the case and death of Noah Presgrave. How much will it differ to the details and accounts since from 2024 onwards to present time? Are there major contradictions? Is there any levels of hypocrisy? Any information being twisted, adjusted or manipulated? You yourself watching can let me know if you pick up on any details like that, any discrepancies. You can let me know down below in the comment section and we can add on to that later with other discussions and conversations. For those that are watching this live premiere, welcome. Let me know what you think with your reactions live, and if you have any questions, leave them in the chat or in the comment section down below. If you are interested in recent coverage, if you have missed out on any previous videos of mine on the Noah Presgrave case, don't worry, you will find them all where the eye symbol is, top right corner of the screen. Click up there, you get the drop down box. If you do want to support this channel in an alternative, practical way, there is a pinned message in the comment section by me with a PayPal link. The order of how we'll do things today, we're going to jump straight into the screenshots of the text conversations, read from it, analyze and understand what's really going on, and give you my raw thoughts on the matter. And as well, later on in this video towards the end, as by kind of a viewer request, I'll be sharing with you from Justin Roy's point of view, just for that balance, and analyse what's happened to Justin Roy in the past, who was supposedly threatened as well in a bad way. With that all being said, make sure to stick around and let's begin. Here we are with the first photo slide, and it does have the key timestamps, dates and numbers, which is all that's needed. Elisha Lee, Facebook Messenger. Hopefully you can see it on the screen. The 10th month, the 19th day of 2023, 9:27 a.m. Whoever Elisha Lee was reaching out to at the time. And she says, "Hello, I am Kaden Pressey's mother. Kaden, Noah Presgrave and Jack Newton were great friends. My heart aches for them daily, and I can't begin to fathom the whatever." Okay, simple introduction. Kaden was there the night of Noah's murder. And of course, the day that Noah, passed away was of Monday morning onwards, which people refer to as nighttime because it incorporates in Sunday night. It can get confusing for outsiders, but for people from the US, it probably makes sense. But I like to make it clear. We're talking about September 4th, Monday morning onwards. Interesting that in the very early days of 2023, Elisha Lee believed it was murder. And I still think that that's what Elisha believes till this day. So if so, at least there's some consistency there. Elisha says, wasn't it Jack's girlfriend's family's place? Which would be, Carter Combs. All of the kids were invited. There was no trespassing. All the kids were invited. Why? Because, well, friends, of course, but I believe it was on Instagram. Some research was done online and posted about like an open invitation advertised online for anyone to come on down. And I do find that interesting because if it's advertised online publicly where anyone and everyone could see it, hundreds could show up, It can get out of hand. And maybe at the most 40, if not less, actually showed up over the course of days. So isn't that a little bit odd, maybe? Elisha says there was no trespassing. Kaden's little niece showed up that night. She's 16. Kaden's cousin. 16 as in what? At the time? Or 16 as of now? Or of, well... It's just interesting because I'm sure people in the community kept saying Georgia's only 15, but what, she was 16 actually? Or higher? It's just because some people in the community thought maybe some numbers were manipulated to make someone look even more vulnerable. to make it seem even more shocking in numbers. You know, if someone was like 17 underage, but if people turn the numbers down to 13, then everyone's really outraged and shocked there. You can see the manipulation of numbers can have a drastic effect on people's perception and everything like that. Still underage drinking, of course, regardless. Elisha says, and he knew she shouldn't have been there. Kaden stopped drinking and watched her whilst he waited for her, my sister-in-law. Is that so? Is that really so? That Kaden Pressey watched over her and waited until what? She got picked up or so? Because at least from how it's been worded over time is, after 12:48 a.m. in the morning, 00:48 of Monday, after Georgia threw up outside and was sick and ill, and Elisha said, can you watch over her and follow her about and make sure no one takes photos? And Kaden Pressey was separated from her or doing his own thing elsewhere at a certain point in time, may have been near her at a different time, but because of being split apart, going against Elisha's wishes, Elisha was like, where are you, Kaden? Why are you not saying anything? Why are you not with her? You don't respond back, I'm going to take action. And that's what she did in contacting Melissa, George's mom, and it all went from there. So I don't know what this is all about, Kaden Pressey watching her. Whilst, yeah, granted, Sunday night, Monday morning, not so much. Kaden sent me this video on Snapchat, and I immediately started calling George's mom. Wait, what? What video on Snapchat by Kaden Pressey? Is it the video where Kaden took it at, what was it, 10:40 or 10:50 p.m. Sunday night when he was on the couch area or recliner and he looked up, showed people in the kitchen dining area, which also showed Georgia in the white shirt and even Breely with her back facing the camera. And Kaden panned around and he said he did that to show his mum Elisha that she's okay, she's in safe hands and the party is all cool and fine, no need to worry. Is that what Elisha's referring to here about a video on Snapchat? If not, then what else would it be? What else did Kaden send to Elisha on Snapchat? How bad was it to cause concern for Elisha to immediately call George's mom Melissa? See, from what we've seen ourselves with the hard evidence along the way, the main reason why Elisha called George's mom Melissa was at 1:40 in the morning after Breely, after Georgia being drunk and ill, all because Kaden did not respond back to Elisha when Elisha was asking, where are you and why are you not with Georgia? And she was like, fine, I'm going to contact Melissa now because you, Kaden, aren't responding. Georgia's by herself. She's not safe anymore. That Elisha said in Parts in True Crime, Part 2 interview, which was never released publicly. Elisha had said if Kaden wasn't at that party but Georgia was, she would have gone down herself to pick Georgia up. But because Kaden was there, Elisha put a trust and believed in Kaden to do the right thing and look out for her. And that worked up to a certain point, didn't it? And then we saw in the text conversations, that's when things didn't quite work out and there was panic. So for Elisha to say, no, I actually immediately called Georgia's mom because of a Snapchat video, making it sound like Elisha took direct action quicker and for stronger reasons. But the reason what we were told was not because of a video, but directly because of the conversation Elisha had with Kaden at the time when Kaden would not respond after a few hours passing by and Georgia being by herself, separate. So, yeah, very weird this, is it not? What other possible Snapchat video exists out there which Kaden sent to Elisha? What was it? How bad? Was it to do with Georgia? Was it to do with Brylan slapping Noah? Anything like that? Or is it just something random? I want to know your thoughts down below because this is something we don't just glance by. Elisha then says, it took a while to get a hold of Melissa because she was asleep. Melissa, Georgia's mom, picked me up and me was only 1 mile from the house in Terrell when I saw Georgia's location moving down the road. So Melissa called her and asked her what she was doing. The only good thing that comes out of this part of the convo is it explains why there was no like call log from Elisha's point of view made towards Georgia. You know, like when people were saying, how come Elisha did not call Georgia? Or if that's what Elisha did, why does it not show in the call logs? Well, I said at the time, I don't know if it was Brenda that was questioning it, or it could be someone completely different, of course. But I responded back with, maybe it doesn't show on the call logs of Elisha because it was Melissa contacting her daughter at the time to say, hey, can you pull over? We're coming to collect you. And what's mentioned here by Elisha, that's exactly what happened. Okay. They were only 1 mile from the house in Terrell. Which direction would they have been coming in? Would they have been driving down south? Yeah. Saw Georgia's location moving down the road. Which direction was Georgia going in though? North or south? Like if Melissa said, hey, you know, what's going on? Can you pull over or something? They'd have to maybe turn around and stuff. As said, some of this may not be in the correct order, but I'm just working with how it was handled. Something to do with being there. Elisha says, Kaden stopped drinking and watched her whilst he waited for her mom, my sister-in-law, and me to come get her. She didn't know we were coming either. Georgia told her mom she was staying with a friend, but I, being her favourite aunt, have her on Find My iPhone. Kaden sent me a video on Snapchat. Oh, right, that's a continuation of what's mentioned here, and that's what led to it immediately starting to call George's mum. Right, okay, so it's just slightly in the wrong order, not to know at the time. But I just find that weird. Kaden was watching her whilst waiting, as in, what, Kaden was aware that Melissa was coming to pick Georgia up, and Kaden was just making sure that Georgia did not wander off anywhere? That doesn't make any sense because that's not how the story went from what we heard in 2024 onwards. The story was Kaden was away from Georgia and Georgia and Breely left on their own accord and Kaden was oblivious to it. And at 2:42, that's when Kaden was woken up by Elisha calling to say, you know, as for Georgia, on the way home now. Yeah, it's unusual this. Georgia may have not known that they were coming, but to say she didn't know we were coming either, to say either means another person on top did not know. And who's that in response to? It might just be how it's poorly worded, but yeah, for Elisha to say, because I am her favourite aunt, I have her on my iPhone, Find My iPhone, which is tracking. Is there a bit of a pattern and theme going on that Elisha has tracking services on all different kinds of people out there or so? Of course, it can be a normal thing, but, you know, with what we've been talking about in recent time, tracking, air tags, is there a pattern? Does anyone think like that? Let me know in the live chat. Let me know if you agree or not. And let me know what you think about this mystery Snapchat video. Not quite full context. It continues on here. Ken sent me a Snapchat, called George's mom, took me a while to get hold of her. Yeah, we've seen that one. Asked her what she was doing, Melissa calling Georgia, and Georgia said she was at her friend's. Just then, her friend passed us on the highway. Ah, there we go. Well, actually, that's very interesting, that. So where about down the highway, then? At the spot of then to be later Noah's final spot? Or further north? So, Melissa driving, Elisha passenger, maybe driving down south, and just her friend passed us. Wait, the friend passed us. How could Breely be driving when Breely wasn't fit to drive, and it was Breely's older sisters that were driving, or one of them driving, whilst Georgia and Breely were, I guess, passengers. That's weird. Details don't quite add up there. So for that to happen, at what point did they pass by each other then on the highway? That's very interesting. Melissa told her to pull over and we turned around. And something, I don't know, and I can't, it's just bloody blurred out. Get in our car. This is the video. What video? Oh, we don't see it, do we? Oh, God damn it. What's this all about? When we were talking to the detective, he told Kaden that Noah was found without clothes on. Kaden said, no. When Jack came into the house screaming that Noah was dead, it woke Kaden up. Kaden said he ran to his Jeep and some boys in and they raced to where Noah was at. That's October 19th, 2023 at 9:52 a.m. when that was said. Does it seem to check out that from at least how it's been said? Jack came into the house screaming. We've heard that before. No timestamp acknowledged at the time, which is interesting because it's been so important and well known now. You thought it would have been drilled in the early days, but not here at least. Yeah, it woke Kaden up, but Kaden said he had to wake the other guys up. Wonder why the other guys didn't wake up at the same time as Kaden. If there was a loud bang sound. Running to the Jeep, maybe, but Kaden said he was trying to find his shoe. Spent a bit of time for that. In terms of some boys, no exact figure given there, but in the last video or two what we saw, Elisha said it was just two boys, Brylan and Isaac, but what about Mikey? The snap. There's that. How it's mentioned here, the figure, not as specific. What's this one? At her friends. Just then, her friends passed us on the highway. Melissa told her to pull over and we turned around and made her get in our car. This is the video Kaden sent me. We have spoken to the police and shared this video as well. Oh, no. No. You know what that is? It's exactly what I said earlier on. That little video there is the one what we've seen publicly, which was harmless, which was Sunday night, which was at 10:40 or 10:50 p.m. Sunday night, in which it was shared to Elisha through iMessage or Facebook Messenger, and we've covered it in my previous videos. Sunday night. Elisha or Kaden or both were mentioning, as we saw in the text conversations, that when it got to past midnight, Monday morning, early on at 12:48 onwards, that's when the concern and panic kicked in with Elisha. When hearing from Kaden's point of view of a photo, oh, Georgia's a bit sick and ill, drank too much alcohol. This video was earlier, Sunday night, when there was no concern. How it's worded here by Elisha is this particular video sparked me to take direct action and contact Melissa. Why? Kaden Pressey said himself the whole point of this particular video and why he recorded it was to calm Elisha and to show as evidence, hey look, Georgia's here, you can see it in the distance, she's smiling and okay, it's all fine, you don't need to worry. And that was good enough for Elisha at the time, who said, okay. And there was no concern because Elisha trusted Kaden and Kaden wanted to just reinforce that with some footage as evidence. And yet in the early days of 2023, it's been worded differently. That is so weird. Gonna try and find it again. I don't know if I can. Yeah. Kaden sent me this video on Snapchat and I immediately started calling Georgia's mom. I think from the call logs, what we saw, that did not happen. It was later on. It was Monday morning, an hour or two later on, when action was taken. It wasn't taken Sunday night from what I'm aware of. Unless that part wasn't shown clear enough as for call logs and it was only Monday onwards. Yeah, it's a bit weird this, if I'll be honest with you. You can let me know what you think below. And then October told all the boys to leave, I guess, the highway, that service truck driver. Elisha says, Kaden said Noah had black basketball shorts on, and hey dudes. There we go. This was what I was looking for, because there was some people in the community that said Kaden Pressey wasn't always consistent, because at one point he said and stated that Noah had a complete pair, both left and right, of Kaden Pressey's shoes on Noah's feet. But as we saw with time, and by most people, the consistency was Noah had one of his Adidas shoes on and one of Kaden's shoes. And yet Elisha is stating here that Kaden told me, or Kaden said in general, that Noah was wearing a pair of hey dudes. Because it's got an S on, which means more than one shoe. A pair. That makes no sense. That does not add up whatsoever with what was described at the highway and what was officially described as well. So maybe Elisha misunderstood what Kaden said, or maybe Kaden in 2023 changed it compared to 2024. Switched and changed with time. This is weird. Yet again, something else we can't just glance over. Elisha says, Kaden said it's burned into his head and he knows Noah was not naked. Kaden said he argued with the man. That was his friend, Noah. He said the man got a blanket out of his truck and put it on the black shorts Noah had on in the video. I guess as in the video, meaning the party footage from earlier that night or the night before, however you word it. Not a video as in at the highway, let's not get confused there, even though Elisha's wording is a bit dodgy. But there's a few more discrepancies here. That Kaden argued with the service truck guy that told him to leave. Kaden Pressey said himself he never argued with people at the highway, specifically when told to leave. Kaden Pressey said himself he followed the orders. He wanted to respect his elders and leave the scene, not to cause any trouble, out of respect. Like Kaden Pressey said, the service truck guy was aggressive and swearing at them. And Elisha is saying here that Kaden kind of argued back. And Kaden said, never acknowledged that he argued with him. So there's some discrepancies here, yet again. And another big one, to say that the service truck guy got a blanket out of his truck. Why? Kaden Pressey said, before he was told to leave, Kaden was going to get a blanket himself from his vehicle to cover Noah's body. And how it's worded here is the service truck guy did it instead. Or maybe both did it. Maybe Kaden tried first, then was told off by the truck guy, and then the truck guy, service truck one, went to get his own blanket. Maybe. The battle of blankets, the battle of towels. It's a good thing I've got a members only one, if you want to use it yourself. Interesting. Continuation on. Kaden said he argued. Yeah. His friend Noah said the man got a blanket out of his truck and put it on the black shorts. Right, so it's just a duplicate. That, don't know why. Said he argued with the man that was his friend. Noah said, okay, the black shorts Noah had on in the video were on him when Kaden was made to leave the scene. Jack and the man in the white service truck stayed there. Kaden called me crying. Oh no. This is really bad. This is really bad. So early on in 2023, no timeline timestamp given as of 5:15 in the morning, but Elisha is saying, let's just say it is 5:15 in the morning, and it was 5:30, as Kaden said, when he was told to leave the highway, the scene. So after that, when leaving, Elisha says that's when Kaden called me crying, and I talked to him. Oh no, do we have like a follow-up of that or so? Yeah, there we go. I'll move back to the previous one. Kaden called me crying and I talked to him for his entire drive home. At the time, he just kept saying he knew it was Colton and Travis, that Jack had made them leave the night before because they stole Jack's beer, but they came back. Oh no. This is really, really bad. You know, some of these details I've never seen before myself. So with what I've learned since, it's drastically different to what's mentioned here. And maybe we might have to do separate, smaller scale videos looking deeper into this type of stuff. I mean, this other particular detail here, whatever order it's in, Elisha says, I'm 100% certain that this timeline cannot be true. Kaden told me his cousin was out there and drunk at 1:45 a.m. Oh no, it wasn't 1:45 a.m. Monday morning. That's the time when Elisha was trying to get in contact with Melissa onwards up to about, 1:51, 1:55? But the timing of when Kaden's cousin was out there, as in outside of the party house on the patio area and drunk, was not 1:45, it was 12:48 a.m., which means 00:48, around that time. And then an hour or so passed by and Kaden had not responded back to Elisha, and Elisha then got worried and said, right, I'm calling Melissa. So how it's worded here, it's not great. But to say I'm 100% certain, oh no. What's going on here? Elisha, I called my sister-in-law and told her we drove to Terrell and I saw my niece was moving in a vehicle, and on Find My iPhone, my sister-in-law called her and told her to pull over to tell a friend to pull over. And we, could that say yelled, maybe? We yelled on the side of the road, at 3:15 in the morning. 3:15 in the morning. Well, where did they actually meet? Where did they actually pass by on the highway? It's very important, this, and very, 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 very. Because if it was around 2 in the morning, let's just say, around 2 in the morning when Breely and Georgia had left the house, driving down the highway north in order to, I guess, pass by Elisha and Melissa, but are driving south. How far down that highway did they pass by one another? Because it couldn't have been near to the area of where Noah's body was found at, just because of the timing of when they actually all met up on the side of the road, which was at 3:15 in the morning. If at 2 in the morning, like an hour plus, 15 minutes earlier, you had Breely and Georgia leaving 2 in the morning, it will only take maybe 2 to 5 minutes or so to get down to the area spot where Noah was found at dead. So it would mean that likely when they passed by one another and then onwards meeting together at 3:15, it must have been much further down the highway north, further away from Noah's body at. Meaning, with it being more distant and further away, they don't link as much to Noah's death because they're not in the spot. They're not meeting up at the spot or near the spot where Noah was later to be found dead. Further down north, from my interpretation here. But maybe it does differ. Let me know what you think. So we'll continue on. Focusing more here. Because the bit about the service truck guy and Kaden being told to leave, Kaden said that's 5:30 in the morning. To mention that Kaden then was driving home. What? Kaden said he drove home at 7 in the morning. So what was he doing then from 5:30 to just before 7? Well, from what we heard from Kaden, it was just back to the house and just sat up and just watched TV as a bit of distraction whilst the other guys went to sleep and the girls were crying. So how it's worded here by Elisha is, at least how it's worded here, is after 5:30, even though Elisha does not mention any times, but trying to interpret it based off of Kaden as well. After 5:30, shortly after, Kaden drove home and then was contacting his mom and crying. But Kaden said he never cried. Well, he never acknowledged it, at least. Kaden said The other guys were crying or disturbed, and Kaden was seeking comfort with them and hugging them and saying it'll be okay. And the ride home was a bit quiet and tense and whatnot, and it's understandable. And Mikey was in like shock, going over it over and over again in his head with words, repetition. But just how it's worded here just is so weird. At the time, Kaden kept saying he knew it was Colton and Travis. What, responsible? I think in a previous video we've heard those names come up, Colton and Travis. It was to do with Elisha saying at a later point in the case that it was Kathy Bingham, or a private investigator at least, that interviewed Kaden Pressey a second time and mentioned about they've got information which links to Colton and Travis, as example, being responsible behind Noah's murder. But that would have been later on. How it's worded here by Elisha is that Kaden knew it was Colton and Travis, but at a later point in time in the case, it was supposedly Kathy Bingham that had material to prove that. What is going on here? It's linking back to a murder situation. Of course, this is all coming from Elisha, speaking on behalf of Kaden, but Kaden Pressey has never mentioned these details before. Kaden Pressey has never mentioned any of these details, what we're seeing today, either in the Partners in True Crime public interview or even the 2024 police interview. So why was it not mentioned? Because this is all very, very important. Why did Kaden Pressey not mention any of this clearly in the police interview of 2024? But why is Elisha doing it then? Seems like Elisha knows more than Kaden, and Elisha wasn't even at the party, although Kaden was. Weird. In one of the interviews, at least, I know Kaden did say that Colton, Travis, and a skinny guy Sunday night or Monday morning made it back to the party to get some alcohol. Does that link on with this, maybe? Jack had made them leave the night before. What, Sunday night, Colton and Travis, or Saturday night? Because Colton... oh, no, it's not Colton. No, it's not Colton. No. It's someone else. Oh, no, it is Colton, yeah. Colton Newton, who said in a Snapchat convo with a stranger, also supposedly known as Vanessa Salazar, supposedly. Colton said, I was told by Jack I can't return back to the party on Sunday because I was seen talking to Jack's girlfriend, Carter, casually, and Jack took offence to that and got triggered. That's what Colton said. So, couldn't come back the Sunday. But what Elisha mentions here is, couldn't come back what day though exactly? It's not as clear. Come back to steal Jack's bears. Oh no, because they stole the bears in the first place and that's why they got told off. Really? That's the reason for stealing Jack's bears? And yet Colton said the reason why I couldn't come back is because I was actually talking to Carter, Jack's girlfriend. All over the place. What else do we have? iPhone. My sister-in-law called her and told her to tell her friends to pull over. Yeah, we've seen all that. We were less than a mile from the house. What? Well, if 3:15 is correct then, and less than a mile from the house, for Breeley and Georgia to leave at 2 a.m. to pass by them and then meet up, it just wouldn't make any sense. If it was 3:15, then I just don't think that Breeley and Georgia would have left at 2 a.m. Likely they would have had to have left closer to 3 a.m, or just a bit before 3 a.m, to then go on the highway to then pass by him and then to all pull up and meet up. This is really weird. If Noah was already on the side of the road, those girls would have seen him. Yeah. Well, no. No, actually, no. What the hell? So anywhere between 3:15 or just before that, well, it's supposed to saying if Noah was already there by that time, and from what we've heard, Noah left the house at 3:30. So yeah, of course, Breeley, Georgia, Elisha, Melissa aren't going to see anything on the highway at that time because Noah, at 3:15 at least, was still at the party to what we know of. What else do we have here? Duncan drove. Okay. When Georgia left, he went back inside and went to sleep. Oh, Kaden. Right, it's been made out that Kaden Pressey was watching over Georgia all the time until Georgia had left. Yeah, from the pings, what we saw and whatnot on whatever tracking servers, Kaden was away from Georgia, and yeah, weird. I asked if he saw Noah, and he said the last time he saw Noah, he was mad at a girl and was going to take a shower. We've seen that before already, but Kaden never mentioned anything about. Kaden never mentioned anything about Noah being mad at a girl before a shower, and then about inquiring to have a shower. I know Kaden stayed outside on the porch with Georgia until she left. Really? Kaden never mentioned that. So if Noah was murdered outside the house, Kaden would have seen it. If the investigator is saying he was murdered before 3, he didn't go inside to sleep until Georgia left because he didn't trust any of those boys with his little cousin. You don't trust those guys, don't trust those boys, then why are you actually at the party yourself then? If there's any safety reasons. This was November 19th, 2023 at 12 p.m. He said Noah wasn't outside when he was waiting on the porch with Georgia. But what time though? I know we arrived about a mile away from the party house around 3:15. That is when we saw Georgia's location moving, my sister-in-law called it. So it just seems very repetitive, doesn't it? We've got Georgia in our car, drive home, and that's about it. Okay, it's short and sweet, but apologies with some of the screenshots being out of order, but how they were posted, I think they were in the correct order, or maybe it's just some duplicates, I don't know, but it seems pretty clear that what we've seen and heard today does not match what we've heard ever since. It's changed the story drastically. The last thing I just wanted to share with you is kind of like a viewer request by Justin Roy from what he's been on the receiving end of supposedly. I'm just reading it out here just to follow with the patterns and themes of course, what we've seen recently with Brooke Bounds Carter being on the receiving end of really nasty, dark threats. Justin says he has been as well, but by Brooke. So we just zoom in here. Supposedly Brooke said at some point previously, oh, she has previously, lol, yes, I have cameras all over my house and guns at both doors and in my bedroom. House alarm is triggered every night at 8, so not possible to break in here without losing your hearing and cops being called. And both of my neighbours' husband literally live for something like this to go down, lol. I assure you, Mr. Roy Boy, as in Justin Roy, would never be found. That's a fact. To never be found could imply being disposed of. Sorry, but that cracked me up. I honestly think he's too much of a coward to do anything, but if he tried, I'm glad to know you have a security system and guns. And then Brooke says, oh yeah, he would be on a losing battle here. Proud Texas girl here with a lot of land, thousands of acres to hide things, lol. That's basically just suggestive to suggest and imply that if anything happened with Justin coming on over, with alarms, with guns, firearms, if Justin Roy tried anything, then maybe a neighbour or someone would be ready to shoot and possibly kill Justin Roy and then dispose of him, and with thousands of acres could be buried anywhere and no one would know. Yes, it does sound very bad, I do understand it. What we do need to acknowledge though is with the usage of emojis, how serious is Brooke being about it? You know, the laughing and crying emojis, are they actually being serious or kind of like being lighthearted in a dark humour way? What we also need to acknowledge is this is not a direct threat towards Justin Roy, but more so a private conversation amongst two people. And the one on the receiving end who's communicating with Brooke may, and I'm not too sure, but may have shared it with Justin, because these, how you could interpret it as threats, warnings, as in, Justin, if you step on this land and you get too close, bad things might happen to you. Whether that's implied by Brooke as self-defense or implied as silencing Justin Roy, At the end of the day, Justin Roy was not in conversation with Brooke about this. Brooke was not saying this to Justin's face, but more so to somebody else in the background in a private conversation. And yeah, you can still say a threat is a threat, or a suggestive threat is a suggestive threat, but it's not outright direct. I mean, in other ways, how many times in life could it happen where two friends are talking with one another, and even in passing of talk or joking, say, oh God, I could do something to that person, or I would do something to this person, but it never actually happens. But it's just a little chat amongst you and a friend or a close one. If a person overheard what was actually being said about them, yes, it could be interpreted as a threat, yes. If it's just a casual conversation with someone you know and nobody else is meant to hear it or ever see it, is it as bad? It's bad, of course, when you do see it yourself. You get like a screenshot of it sent over, passed over somehow, and it's not good. But if you was completely blind to it and you were never to know because it was always a private conversation and remained that way, you would never know that you've been threatened indirectly. But I think what you could also say there is Brooke Bounds-Carter has been threatened over time. Justin Roy can be interpreted as he's been threatened in some ways, and people from the light side and the dark side have been threatened amongst one another in groups and against each other from different sides over time at different points. It's a bit of a mess, to be honest. I mean, of course, in terms of the word in Garv, he would never be found. That's a fact. Thousands of acres, whilst joking. Justin takes it serious. I get it. We've seen it with Stevie Howard's comment in the past about if we were supposedly responsible for Noah's death, we would have done a better job at disposing of the body and would not be found. Similar language and wording what's mentioned here. It doesn't look good, of course, but when it's said in private, you don't expect it to be showed or aired public. I don't know who passed it on to Justin Roy, this, but you'd think it's what you see on screen, the one in the blue box. Whoever Brooke Bounds-Carter was speaking to at the time, but they turned on Brooke's back and shared it with Justin or somebody else, possibly. It's unfortunate as well. Of course, private conversations you wish to have in private and stay in private, and if ever released public, it can make you look bad, literally, direct or indirectly. And it's unfortunate. It doesn't give like a timestamp of when it happened. Of course, there's a bit more to the conversation a bit above by the person and maybe below, but of course we've only got one screenshot which Justin has provided. So as for context, we might not have the full story here. But when you just look at the words and bits in between, you can understand in a way, at least from Justin's mindset and taking it serious, a threat is a threat. It's just not a direct one. So be sure to let me know what you think about that from what Justin is pointing out about being threatened there. Was he truly threatened or not, whether you agree or not? I know Justin did respond back to, I think, my previous video that I did, saying, oh, don't be blaming me, or don't be saying I'm responsible in some way about Brooke's threats or anything like that. Never said that. Never said that was the case. I don't know why Justin's getting his pants in a twist there, or the dog food on the floor. Just get a grip about that. I think in general, though, if there was the suggestion, whether that be by Justin or somebody else, that, oh, what Brooke has gone through, it could be a fake account on side of her to get that agenda, to make it sound like she's been, threatened really badly and become a victim and gain sympathy, so people actually are more lenient towards her in a manipulative way to get an emotional response. But then equally, you could say what Justin has received by his screenshot, which is cropped and doesn't show every part of the conversation, what Justin has seen himself, if somebody else got it on behalf of him, that someone else may have faked it, or another person did, faking it with pretending to be Brooke Bounds-Carter with the same profile picture, but a fake account, and doing all this threatening language. You never know. If that's going to be fake, this could be fake. Everything could be fake. Is there anything real? Maybe my breast, and that's about it. So, besides that, I think the details which were mentioned by Elisha on behalf of Kaden is just a complete difference, night and day difference. And this is what I was saying, 2023, what was mentioned then compared to now, or 2024, and massive difference for sure. A lot of the details that Elisha words and says, Kaden had never said. and I've never heard him say it before. So what the hell's going on there? And it makes me wonder if the details that Elisha has said in 2023, what Kaden told her, did Kaden say any of that in the 2023 police interview? And how much difference would there be between the 2023 police interview and the 2024 leaked police interview? Be sure to let me know your thoughts below. The final thing, what we will do now is just move on to something as a disclaimer, move on to something different. So if you have joined late to the live premiere, inquiring about the Noah Presgrave case, be sure to rewind back now. What I just want to catch up on briefly is when it comes to Beauty Gurumo, and I hope Beauty Gurumo, besides the vacay in recent time, is present, active and waiting. And so it tells me that during these times and moments, and from one strawberry to another, certain clips or moments, and then the person doesn't show up in the I don't know, but all the other times present, and then that one time randomly I do a bit of an extra edit and not present, see the live reaction, but the videos always remain, so it's never lost. However, one thing what we do need to acknowledge is this, and no, this is not we the people, the Bibles. No bashing of the Bibles today or slapping. Well, what we are doing briefly is looking at a certain extract. And no, don't worry, this is not Jan Fiorillo's memoir. This is not Jan Fiorillo's secret diary. Not at all. Yes, there's a lot of words and a lot of talking, but it's not to do with her. So that's a positive. What this actually is the secret 50 Shades of Wrath. Because Beauty Gurumo said after the last video with the headaches caused by people and their stupidity that she needed to read a book to increase, I guess, energy levels, intelligence levels, mood, whatever it may be. And the 50 Shades of Wrath novel is present and waiting, and Beauty Gurumo said herself it could be rather hard to last when reading it and to focus. Why though? Why would you not be able to last when going through the book of Wrath? The holy raptures of Wrath 3:16, thou shalt not read unless cookies are present and dunked in milk fresh. Well, don't worry, Beauty Gurumo has both cookies and milk and is also willing to share. How lucky. But besides that, we're going to do a little bit of an extract reading. This is not a psychic reading. This is just reading literally from the book itself. Okay, Beauty Gurumo, I hope you understand. And furthermore, this particular little extract is based off a true story elsewhere. A true story elsewhere of a true person out there somewhere. I guess it's time to begin, don't you think? Somehow I'm going to magically look at the camera whilst not looking at the words on screen on the book, which is quite unique, to be honest. Don't ask how I'm able to do that. So, Chapter 7, Entanglement. Unaware of one's surrounding, a dark, shadowy figure emerges in the distance, scuttling along very slowly, as one remains hanging and dangling helplessly, feeling so hopeless, unaware of what's to come next, blinded by darkness within an abyss, unable to breathe, feeling the walls closing in, as helpless arms and legs wiggle about. The more movement leads to more swinging. Draped over them, a cold towel, suffocating all around. The atmosphere rather dense. The sound, the pitter-patter of water droplets hitting the ground. The sound of footsteps edging very closely, reaching the one. The cold, sharp edge of a tip dragging down the body. Cold shivers running down the spine, up and down and all around. icy cold frosted tips cover the skin. Rough and raw, rugged cloth drags and scrapes along the inside of the legs as a thick, long chain dangles besides, rubbing against the flesh. The cold touches become more apparent, more frequent, and all over, reaching and covering everywhere, to the point of where one reacts and starts breathing heavier and heavier by the second, to the point of where they're gasping. They want to rip off that mask, they want to rip off that tape over them so they can finally let out a sound. But will we ever know what that sound is? Will we ever know what they're thinking? Maybe not, because it's just our secret. There we go. Well, join me next time for the next session. But besides that, my name's Warlike Ref. If you want to hit the thumbs up and share the video, feel free to do so. And we'll see what happens next. Goodbye.